How you doing? Welcome back to September's video, which hopefully I'd like to get over with as soon as possible because I didn't even want to make this video, but there was some little bit of inspiration for me to finally want to get back and make this video. So, to give you a little bit of context, because I know a lot of people are like, Hazbin Hotel, man, that shit dead as fuck. Yeah, it is dead. To me, anyway. I haven't done anything Hazbin Hotel related in 3 years, I think. And there's a very specific reason as to why, and that reason is obviously because the show is terrible. And I knew this ahead of time when I watched A Hell of a Boss, and I knew that this was going to be kind of the style of writing that was going to be for Hazbin Hotel. I didn't want to believe, I was really hoping that maybe I was wrong. No, I wasn't wrong. But Hell of a Boss was the indicator, and I knew that when I watched Hell of a Boss, Hazbin Hotel was going to be equally as bad because the individual in charge and writing all of it, Vivian Madrano, not exactly the best writer out there. In fact, she's one of the worst I've ever seen. And to be fair, that's better of a compliment than anything else that I could criticize her for. Like all the horrible things that she's done to a whole slew of other people. But regardless of the fact, Hazbin Hotel, I think it still holds a certain weight on me. It doesn't hold a place in my heart. No. But it does hold some level of weight on me because in some ways, yes, this is one of three, I would say. One of three things that was an inspiration to my own show that I've been writing. Now, obviously, not exactly the same, nowhere close to it being the same type of show. Inspirations are not from the writing, I can tell you that much. But certain ideas from that show inspired my show. I like to call them the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what I like to call them. Spider-Man being the good inspiration for my show, Five Nights at Freddy's being the bad inspiration for my show, and then Hazbin Hotel being the ugly inspiration for my show. So it does hold some weight over me to talk about Hazbin Hotel, but I just did not give a fuck about talking about it because of how poorly executed it was, and I just didn't feel the need to want to make a video about it. But this was always going to be a video that I wanted to make for a specific reason. It's because of how crazy of an idea that this is. The fact of the matter is that I had a dream. Shut your bitch ass up. The fact of the matter is that I had a dream that was somehow in one night of sleeping whilst dreaming, I subconsciously came up with a better arc of episodes than Vivian could while sitting at a desk and actually writing. Which is insane to think about because when you really think about it, she never actually wrote her pilot. She took that too. Someone else wrote her pilot and then she literally just copy pasted it, barely even trying to change anything about it. And then she hired somebody else, I think Dave Capdeville, and he pretty much wrote the rest. So she never truly wrote anything. It's always been somebody else, and anytime that she has wrote something, oh, believe me, it's clear as day because of how horrible it is. Episode 1 of Hazbin Hotel, oh, believe me, we know that was Vivian. It's clear as day, but also not shocking since 98% of her team was fired because of her. So I wouldn't expect it to be any better anyways. But the reason why I actually decided to make this video because when I watched Hazbin Hotel, I was not planning on reviewing it. I made a quick community post, had a good chat with somebody in the community post about it, and that was it. I was not going to talk about Hazbin Hotel because it did not deserve attention. You see, the thing about these shows and about these movies, about these properties, is that if something is truly horrible, right, you talk about it one time and that's it. You don't ever talk about it again. You mention it once. Say like, hey, this thing is horrible. That's it. Because when you start to talk about it more and more and more, you give it more attention and that gives them more money. And I'm trying to avoid doing that now. I'm trying to avoid giving mugs money. It's why I've been trying to avoid talking about WWE with how trash it's been, with how terrible Triple H is. But sometimes, occasionally, you'll hear me talk about it, just like right now, for example. But in the case of Hazbin Hotel, the reason why I decided to make this video today was something very strange and very weird because it was something completely insignificant and different to it that reminded me of the fact that I do actually really want to make this video because of how crazy this dream is and how good I feel like this dream would have been for this show. And the thing that inspired me was a random, simplistic click game that came out, I think, like a month ago, called Blood Money. Now, when you look at a game like this, right? When you look at a game like Blood Money, from the outside looking in, it looks like some stupid weeboo type shit game that's not going to interest me in any way, shape, or form. When I saw that, I'm like, why would I be interested in that? Why is that even in like any kind of recommendation for me? But then I had a thought. When I saw just a little ounce of blood, and a certain part of my brain unlocked, and I'm like, I've seen this before. If you ever seen a show called Happy Tree Friends, you know that there is this thing about Happy Tree Friends where on the outside, it's supposed to look like this very childish, cartoonish kid show that looks very dumb and stupid. But on the inside, it's actually a brutal, rated R, crazy mess of a show that tackles a lot of fucking stupid, gore fest, over the top shit. And it is wild. And I grew up watching that shit. It was a great subversion of expectation. And also kind of made me be like, should I be watching that? Should I be watching these cartoon characters be torn to pieces right now? But then I saw Blood Money. And I'm like, I feel like this game's gonna be the same thing. I see like a little ounce of blood here. I'm like, it's gonna be the same thing, isn't it? And in 10 minutes, it's a 10-minute game. When you really think about it, it's 10 minutes. In a 10-minute game, this simple as fuck game does more in 10 minutes than Hazbin Hotel ever wishes it could have done with its concept and with the type of characters that it has. That's how interesting this was to me, both in voice acting, which I believe the voice actor is Dexter. Props to you. You really sold this character, Harvey. But also because of the brutality of it. Now, the reason why this reminded me of Hazbin Hotel was because, to me, when I saw this character, I'm like, I've seen this before. I've seen that character design before. I'm like, isn't that similar to Angel Dust? And I was a little bit right on that motion. He does remind me a little bit of Angel Dust, but he's far better than Angel Dust ever could be, or ever wishes he could be. 10 minutes! That's all he needs. 10 minutes. Not 22. Not 30, not a whole season, no, 10 minutes. Crazy. But it impressed me that much to where when I thought about Hazbin Hotel, I thought back to when I was younger and when I first saw the concept of Hazbin Hotel. And I saw the pilot, and I wasn't a big fan of the pilot. I did like aspects of it, but what really hooked me to the show and wanting to be invested in the story of the show was its concept and how it was going to execute that concept. The concept taking place in hell, with the idea to rehabilitate horrible people and making them into better people to bring them to heaven. And you would think, on the outside looking in, that could tackle so much mature storylines and a lot of character arcs that could go in crazy different directions with the animation and the cartoon, all the different ways that you can explore it to the extreme without ever having to really be censored. And they just make it a teenager, PG-13, try-hard, wannabe adult show. Like, you know those kind of adult shows that are like, we're an adult show, but then when you watch it, it's like so immature. It's like, how can you call yourself an adult show when you're clearly too immature to be an adult show? I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of seeing adult cartoon show and then it's the most immature thing I've seen. Like, when are we actually going to get a legitimate, like, mature show? Like, something really good. I would love to see the day that happens. I don't think it will, because I find more entertainment in kids movies. The damn Toy Story 3 trilogy was more mature, and it was a G-rated film. Toy Story 3, G-rated, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was actually G-rated. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. G-rated film for something that would have been considered rated R. That's insane. I love that. So now, going into the actual conversation that is Hazbin Hotel, I want to first briefly talk about the two main characters to which this dream applies to, because they are very crucial into understanding my frustration with the show and also understanding why I think this dream, even though it does horrible things to them, I don't know why my subconscious came up with this, but it does horrible things to them. I think in the long run, it makes their characters better. It makes their characters stronger. And that's what I like to see. So the characters I'm talking about obviously are Charlie, who throughout the actual show is treated like an immature little child who just wants her dreams. And then if anybody has a different opinion than her, then she shuts them down because it's not her dream. And she only wants her dream to be accepted. And she literally acts like a child in various different episodes. And at no point throughout the show does she ever mature. And I know what you're going to say. Well, there's going to be a season 2. Even with a season 2, with the people who are making it, look at Vivian. Look at Vivian. Look at who's making this show. And tell me that it's actually going to mature. it's actually going to become better with time. It's not. That's just the reality of it. It's not. Charlie's not going to improve as a character. She was a terrible main character because of how immature she was without any progression into becoming a better character. And every time where they tried to progress her character, it was never truly her character that was progressing, maturing. It was just something else entirely, or someone else entirely maturing, while she just kind of got to ride along with it. That don't make sense to me. And then you have Angel Dust, who is complicated for me because I don't feel like, first of all, I don't think he learned his lesson. What I enjoyed about Angel Dust's character was that he was a reflection to his abuser Valentino. I liked that about his character because it told a story that I think, if done right, could have been amazing. Because Valentino has such a grip and a hold over Angel Dust as a person, that Angel Dust is also reflecting the same nasty, disgusting behavior that Valentino does onto others like Husker, which is what he does throughout both the pilot and the first 2 or 3 episodes of the actual first season of the show. And I was thinking, with them going in that direction, that they would have actually tried to, over time, make Angel Dust realize, or find a way to make him realize that the things that he's doing and the horrible actions that he's doing to Husker are what Valentino's been doing to him. And that he is essentially continuing the line of abuse by becoming as bad as Valentino slowly over time. And that would have been a story that built slowly over time before eventually he would overcome that obstacle and actually start to become a more mature person and become a better person, which is something that I feel like the show here doesn't actually do. Which is funny because when I bring up certain receipts that you're gonna see later, I do mention this. I do mention the fact that I was surprised over the fact that Angel Dust's character just changed, or adapted, as I like to say, because I don't believe people change, I believe people adapt. And that's not a bad thing. That means that could be a great thing. People adapting to be more mature, that's great. To me, anyway. That's my opinion, that's my viewpoint. But I even said as such, I was like, Angel Dust already adapted into a completely different person? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would they do that already? We're only at the first season of the show. What is it with people making one season of a show and then being like, okay, we done our part? Like, hello, you're making a show, right? Don't you plan on making multiple seasons? Like, why do you make the first season feel like an open shut case and then not plan ahead for the future season? I can't understand people who do that. Like, oh, we're gonna make a show, but we're not actually gonna make it a purpose-driven show until we decide, yeah, it's gonna be a purpose-driven show. I'm so sick of that, bro. Just make it a show. Like, if it's a purpose-driven show, which Hazbin Hotel is, you're supposed to know the story ahead of time. So that way, when you are telling it, it feels like you know what you are talking about and doing. I'm so sick of the, let's tell it as we go along. Because when you tell it as you go along, what if you get cold feet and you decide to change your mind? You're like, I don't know about this one. I'm gonna fall back. Because we as people, we do that. We fall back on certain decisions that we make because we're like, I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not sure if it's really working for me. And so when I see that with a story, it's worse, because the thing about a story is that a story is supposed to be something larger than life to us people. It's supposed to be something that we see as something superior or better. So when we see it replicating human mistake, that makes us see it as nothing more than a human creation, which is not what stories should feel like. Stories should feel like art. Stories should feel like something greater and better and superior to us, because it is an art form to which tells itself and inspires us to do things within our own lives to want to become better and more mature people, or in other cases have a good time and be happy and enjoy ourselves and watch along as characters go on crazy adventures. Regardless of which angle, regardless if it's a character moment story or a purpose-driven story, or in real terms an episodic story or a serialized story, regardless of which one it is, art is supposed to be grander than human. That's the point of it. That's why we treat it with greater respect than we do other human beings. But in cases like these, where you're not treating the art as something special and you're making it something lesser than, when we watch it, we're not looking at it as art anymore. We're looking at it as somebody flailing around trying to do something that they really don't know how to or can't do properly along the way, which is in most cases, which is why I don't like shows. I explained this in my previous video, the Spectacular Spider-Man rebooking video, where this is the big reason why I do not like shows. I don't like shows because it always feels like when they make a show, they don't actually have a plan. They always feel like we're gonna start with something strong and then we're gonna just figure it out. I'm sick of that. I wanna see a show where somebody knows what the fuck the show is, and when we start off, we have an end goal and we're going to build to that end goal, because that to me feels far more special and far more grand than anything that you can come up with along the way, which is why I like movies better, because with a movie you have an ending. There is an ending to a movie, and if the ending is terrible, well, the movie's terrible. Simple. It's very simple, straightforward. With a show, it's more complicated because you can have an episode that you really love, but then when you look at the story as a whole, it's like, what the fuck is this? What am I watching? What am I doing? I don't like that. I really don't like that. Imagine going into a movie where they haven't written the ending. They don't know what the ending is. They're just writing it along the way while they're filming it. A majority of times, a movie that has no ending plan for the actual movie while they're filming does not turn out good. Does not turn out to be one of the best movies ever. It doesn't. And if it does, there's probably some stupid reason as to why. That's just the reality of it. You should never make a story without an ending. If you don't have an ending, don't make the story. Don't. Because what's the point? Unless it's going to be, like I said, a character moment story where there is not supposed to be an ending. It's just supposed to be character moments being glorified in entertaining and fun ways. Then make that. Don't make it a purpose-driven story and then not have an ending. A purpose-driven story is supposed to have an ending. A character moment story is supposed to be a story about characters being glorified into fun, entertaining, strong, funny, enjoyable ways. That's the difference between the two story types. So you gotta know what type of story you're making before you actually make it. Otherwise, when we watch it, it's like something completely melded and meshed together that we can clearly tell, well, this is man-made. This isn't art. This isn't something that if I was a kid, I would be looking at this like, oh man, this is larger than life. These characters feel real to me. It's still real to me, damn it. No, I wouldn't feel that way. I would look at it like, what idiot made this shit? I don't know. To me, special features or interviews or behind the scenes, it does take away from the magic of storytelling sometimes. But with a movie, you can get away with something like that because you could watch a movie and then if you have like a special Blu-ray disc or a DVD disc, you could then watch like the special features and stuff and get more into it. But even then, I would want it to be more in character. I'm not a fan of breaking the immersion of storytelling. I'm very into the storytelling art, which I know is a little contradictory to what I've done here on YouTube, specifically this channel. I never treated it as something legitimate. Like the Randomness Act is not legitimate, but it's a fun concept that I think anyone could use whenever you want. But in the case of Hazbin Hotel, why it's trying to treat itself like a joke, I don't know. To me, I don't know why. But now that you have some levels of context as to the two characters that are going to be very prevalent in my dream, let me talk to you about the dream in question. So back on, I believe, sometime in January 2024, I had a dream that was a Hazbin Hotel dream, and I remembered a lot because I typed it. It was such a crazy but awesome, cool dream that I had to tell my friend Luffy about it. And I typed the entire dream, so I have the receipts on Discord. He's allowed me to showcase the DMs of when I texted him it. So I will show you the text that I made in regards to the dream, or specific intervals of the dream that I will be talking about, because even though I typed the dream based off of how I saw it, what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm also going to be filling in the gaps to the dream in question to how I would envision the dream was supposed to be if it wasn't a dream and it wasn't obviously choppy and wavy and whoa, because dreams are like that. And I had, up to that point in time when I had the dream, I had only seen the first episode of Hazbin Hotel because at the time I did not have streaming services. I don't know about you, but to me, I never got into the streaming thing. I know I've watched WWE PLEs from time to time. I've watched the FNAF movie on Peacock before. I myself, I've never actually been on the streaming stuff. Never. Because to me, it's just not my style. You know, I wish if I could, if I still had a DVD player, I would still watch DVD movies and I would still go to Redbox. Yeah, do you guys remember Redbox? Hopefully you do, because if you're too young for that, please don't watch this video. I forgot to put a mature warning. Maybe I should put a mature warning. there's gonna be a lot of deep topics this video. But I feel like if you've been on my channel, you would know that we talk about very mature things here. But also there's the fact that I didn't really have a streaming service, so I couldn't watch the other episodes that were out. I had only seen the first one because it was on YouTube. But I believe 4 episodes were out at the time to which I had the dream. So 4 episodes were out. I had only seen the first one, but my friend Luffy had seen all 4 of them up to that point. And so when I had this dream, I texted him, and one of the things that he told me was that I believe the 4th episode in particular had a lot of similarities to my dream, which is crazy because, like I said, never saw it. Never saw the episode, had no idea, but my dream came up with it. So other than the mature warning that I'm going to give you prior, because the dream, as you can see, is called the Charlie Dust dream. And if anybody knows anything about putting 2 completely different characters' names together to make one name, usually means something love related, doesn't it? Well, I got a story for you. Thankfully, the good news for me on my part is that the context of things that have happened in this video were not visual. So they were only implied. Thankfully, because I would not be able to get that out of my head if that is something that my subconscious had came up with. So I'm grateful of that fact, but also I am estimating that this is more than 1 episode, because even though to me it felt like one short little thing that just kind of got compiled really quickly together and then it just happened and that was my dream, this feels like it's a multiple episode arc, like a 3 episode arc maybe, because there's multiple different stories going on here to the build up of the main feature, which is what the dream is about, which is why I call it the Charlie Dust dream. So without further ado, hopefully now, with no interruptions and with, I believe, 27 minutes already cut, bro. That's crazy. You're not gonna see 27 minutes, but we're already like 20 something minutes into this video. And I haven't even gotten to the dream. I am so sorry, but I have to give you all the context as possible. So now, let's finally get into it. So the dream started with, I believe, Angel Dust being recruited to perform a task by Charlie. So Charlie is essentially trying to continue promotions for the Hazbin Hotel, which is something that at this point in time she would have been doing for a while. I don't know if this is going to be season 1 story or if it's going to be like a season 2, or I don't know what season this would have possibly fallen in, but it's still continuing on her journey of trying to influence people about her hotel and showcasing why her hotel is something grand, but it's still near the beginning stages of her hotel where there's not really anybody that came there yet. So it does feel like it would be a season 1 thing, but a lot of things that happen in this dream are things that would have played a little bit later down the line, not immediately right away. So I don't know, interpret it as you will. But Charlie is trying to advertise for the hotel, and while she's trying to advertise for the hotel, she gets the idea to use her running star, Angel Dust, because he is a literal porn star. Everybody knows who Angel Dust is. The idea essentially is that you use Angel Dust to influence people to come into the hotel. But Vaggie suggests and kind of gives the wink and the nod to Charlie that, hey, that's not exactly a smart idea to have a porn actor try to influence people to come over to the hotel, because then people wouldn't be there to try to be rehabilitated. They'd be there for him. So to change up the idea, Charlie then instead makes Angel Dust hide his identity and disguise himself as a low-life criminal on the streets. Now, at this interval of time, Angel Dust is still the Angel Dust from the pilot. He is still an attention whore, all about him. Everybody needs to look at him, you know, eyes have to be on him because he is all that. So now you have this storyline where he has to essentially hide all that and pretend that he is not that person that he is became. He does not have that fame and that success. And so he doesn't like that. He very much hates this idea because now he has to pretend to be someone he's not. And he feels like he deserved the attention and the respect from all these people so that they can look at him and be attracted to him and have all these fans. But Charlie's like, well, we're not going to get people to be rehabilitated. So they make Angel Dust go out to the street and essentially be this pretend criminal on the street who is like, oh man, the hotel, you should come to this hotel, be rehabilitated, you know, start to go to people, fall into certain crowds and try to influence people. But as Angel Dust quickly finds out, when he's just a regular guy on the street, a nobody, well, nobody gives a shit. And so nobody's really approaching him, nobody's really coming up to him, nobody is doing anything. And he's starting to get really infuriated by that, because he is a star in his eyes. He is the guy. And yet nobody gives a shit because he's pretending to be this criminal, this random guy on the street. So no one's paying him mind when they're talking about this hotel. No one really is like listening or giving him the time of day, except for these group of bums that he comes across who do find some intrigue, not so much in the actual hotel itself, even though it does get through to them a little bit, but they are more interested in how Angel Dust is behaving. Now, because Angel Dust acts and behaves like a very stereotypical homosexual, it comes across as very obvious to these group of bums who are kind of seeing this from Angel Dust, and they're kind of a little bit concerned in regards to Angel Dust, because even though they don't like the fact that he might be gay, they are worried on what could happen to him down here in hell with him acting and behaving the way that he does. And so they kind of like pull him aside and they're like, hey dude, we don't know what your problem is, what your deal is, what you've done in your previous life, but we can clearly tell that you don't really understand the gravity to what situation you are in now, which is that this place is horrible and is filled with endless upon endless of horrible people. And that when you act and behave the way that you do right now, that you will be eaten alive in this dog-eat-dog world. And obviously, Angel Dust hearing this, he's offended by it. Because why wouldn't he be? He's like, wait, what are you talking about? What are you telling me that I can't act and behave a certain way? And they're like, listen, we don't know what kind of superiority you feel right now, but it's a matter of perspective, and it's a matter of how people are going to interpret you and how people are going to see you as weaker than because of this. And due to that fact, it gets into, I believe it was a musical number, where these bums are essentially trying to teach Angel Dust the ways of the street and trying to like get him more understanding of the true gravity of a situation and get up his street cred essentially as not somebody to be picked on. You know, it's almost like prison mentality. It's like when you propose yourself as weaker than or seem like you are an easy target, there are going to be people that come after you specifically. And so they're trying to teach him a song. He's not really buying into it because he doesn't really give that much of a shit, but he's into the fact that these people are seemingly the only people that are giving him the attention that he wants, which is ironic because since these are the only people that are giving him the attention that he wants, he kind of feels somewhat respect for them, but not in the way that he would have felt if he was a more mature person. So he likes the fact that they are giving him all this attention or doing all this stuff for him, but he doesn't like the fact that they're trying to teach him how to go about his life. So it's contradictory in that aspect. And the plot of Angel Dust trying to bring these people to the hotel slowly gets lost because he is just so enwrapped in this back and forth musical number about like how he should behave on the streets. Ultimately, after the musical number ends, it ultimately goes that Angel Dust does not actually take their advice, and he still just goes about his day, and that's when, ironically, he will capture the attention of Valentino, because Valentino is somebody who preys upon people like this. But what Angel Dust doesn't understand is that this situation of Valentino kind of dogging him down and hunting him down, kind of stalking him and trying to lure him in, is exactly what he's already done to him before. He doesn't know that though, but he's realizing it by going through this new identity and pretending to be this completely different person. And so when he's talking with Valentino, he's trying to hide the fact that he's Angel Dust, and it's kind of this slow realization that this is what Valentino does, and this is how he gets to people. And he's starting to realize that, but now he's in a horrible situation because Valentino has once again picked him and is once again preying on him. And Valentino brings him back to his studio, and that's when one of two things is going to happen. Either Valentino tricks or dupes Angel Dust by giving him this potion or this hypnotic love spell, or Valentino finds out that Angel Dust is actually Angel Dust and he decides to hold him accountable and punish him through using the love potion on him. And he essentially has this love spell because, in my eyes, Valentino is the lust guy. He is the lust sin overlord. So, to me, him having, like, love-related spells and stuff or potions, that's a part of his gimmick in my eyes. So, he would have this love spell, and he would put it onto Angel Dust. Even though Angel Dust is trying to find a way out, trying to escape his grasp, he would make him drink it, he would make him fall for the spell. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the spell is yet, because first we have to go back to our main cast, specifically Charlie, who is clearly realizing that Angel Dust has never came back. After all this time where he's supposed to look for people and recruit them back to the hotel, he hasn't come back. And so now she's starting to get concerned, and now she wants to go out there searching for him. But Vaggy's obviously like, you shouldn't do that. That's not a smart idea, especially considering your status and especially considering that people would want to probably take advantage of you if I'm not with you. But Charlie's like, trust me, I got this. Don't worry about it. I'm the princess of hell, you know, I run things. I'm the most powerful demon in the world, but nobody really knows that until my true power is revealed. So I got this, Vaggy. And Alistair is even kind of like gaslighting Vaggy too. He's like, let the girl go. What's the worst that can happen? So eventually Charlie would come across the bums first. She would come across the bums first. This part is not in my dream, but this is the part where I would like implement an idea of how it would go, right? She would come across the group of bums who came across Angel Dust, and she would essentially be asking, hey, have you seen this guy Angel Dust who's been essentially coming around asking for people to go to the hotel, and they don't understand what she's talking about, but then they begin to put two and two together and realize that that street bum that they thought it was just another criminal that just came into hell turned out to actually be Angel Dust. And now, in a poetic twist of irony, they actually view him in a completely different light because of the fact that they now know he's Angel Dust, and now they're kind of like dogging him, like, oh man, we missed out on Angel Dust, oh man, we could have had all the sex in the world with that guy, and yet we missed out on it. And Charlie's obviously hearing all this, and she's kind of like disgusted by it. She's like, wait a minute, you didn't judge him the way that you judged him when you didn't know him before. Why are you doing that now? And she's kind of like trying to get the thought process, and even though right away the bums are kind of like dismissing her, it's like, oh, he ain't nothing, he tried to trick us and pretend to be someone he's not, but man, if I would have known, I would have smashed that shit. Alternatively, the mugs could have another perspective as well that would have this pretty much the same effect on the story, which is that instead of them viewing him as like, oh, we missed out on having sex with Angel Dust, instead they might actually hate Angel Dust in a different perspective, because Angel Dust is the gratification of toxic negativity, because he is a porn actor who is over-sexualizing homosexuality and is pretty much a bad influence in that light by making homosexuality into more of a gimmick than an actual legitimate preference that people have, which I think in that other perspective they have a better reason to hate him because of that and not want to deal with him. And it also in another way is kind of ironic because a lot of people who first watched the show, I believe the reason why they hated Angel Dust was for that very reason, is because he is literally a stereotype of that over personification of homosexuality. And so I think it would work really well as kind of like a nod to those people, this little self-awareness that, hey, you know, we know you guys exist, we're not trying to offend anybody specifically, we're just trying to create a character here, and this is what the character views, and this is the character's viewpoints, and this is how the character acts in the world. And of course, over time, that character is going to progress into becoming a better character, but we got to build our way to that. Personally, I would prefer to take this approach over the one that I'm talking about here, because this approach I feel like would have a lot more impact outside of the episode itself and more towards the reality, like more towards the audience in that regards. So I would prefer that have been the viewpoint of the mugs. And besides, Charlie would have still criticized them regardless of the fact, because they still kind of hate Angel Dust. So Charlie's going to criticize them for being like, well, you didn't hate Angel Dust when he was behaving this way or when he was acting this way, you took him under his wing and all that showbiz. So even though I'm going to talk about this other perspective of how the mugs view Angel Dust, I think this one where they hate Angel Dust because he's a porn actor and because he gives homosexuality a bad name, I think this is the better approach for this kind of story arc if you were to actually make it. And Charlie is just like, I'm just disappointed in my people that they would view Angel Dust in a completely different light when they didn't know who he was as compared to who he is, just because he wore a disguise and just because he pretended to be someone else. So she kind of wanders off and kind of plants a little bit of a seed there for the bums to kind of think about for later on. And then she manages to figure out from the bums that he got into the hands of Valentino. And so she goes to Valentino's studio thinking that maybe Angel Dust just went back to work, went back to his boss. And she goes to the studio and she confronts Valentino. And this is where I believe my friend told me that it was very similar to the episode 4, because Charlie would visit the studio, would have this very creepy interaction with Valentino, where Valentino would realize realize from this interaction with Charlie that he didn't just put a love spell on some random mug. He actually put a love spell on Angel Dust. And realizing this, the guy is over the moon about it because he knows what the love spell does. And so he says, you know what, Charlie, princess, go ahead, take your boy. Take your boy back with you. And so she takes him back to the hotel, but Angel Dust is clearly acting strange. He was always over-sexual with Husker, but now he's being like super hypersexual, especially around Charlie specifically. And nobody really knows why, but they're all noticing it, that like Angel Dust is acting really weird. He's acting super sexualized to Charlie now instead of Husker. And Husker is bothered by it especially because with Husker, he can handle that. It's not like he likes it. He obviously doesn't like it. He doesn't like the fact that Angel Dust does it to him. But he can handle what Angel Dust does to him because he's been through some shit. But him seeing Angel Dust do this to Charlie now is pissing him off and is starting to make him actually have problems and complications with Angel Dust and be like, what the fuck is going on here? And obviously, Vaggy's obviously has a problem with it too. She's always got a problem, but that's kind of the excuse, right? Is that Vaggy always has a stick up her butt, and that Alistair is also gaslighting because of this, because he's trying to manipulate Charlie. So he's like, you're always acting like this, Vaggy. It's no surprise. And so Charlie kind of in the belief that maybe Vaggy is always uptight about certain things. And so I think Angel Dust is just having an off day is all. So Charlie's just kind of dismissing Vaggy's pleads because she's constantly just being overprotective and constantly have been trying to prevent her from doing stuff that she thinks is stupid. But in reality, this is the one time where Charlie should have actually listened to Vaggy, because the things that were going to happen were, well, let's just say very devious. So as it turns out, the love spell didn't just make Angel Dust over-sexualized more than he usually is. No, the love spell was something far crazier than that, and it actually made it so that whoever Angel Dust first lays his eyes on, he would be obsessed and addicted to that person, and pretty much would be erotic 24/7 for this person, because this person would be like his love. It would be like a Cupid spell. You ever seen like a Cupid spell where like bow and arrow, shoot the bow and arrow, oh, I'm in love with this person now? It'd be like that, but times 100 for Angel Dust. And unfortunately for Charlie going to the studio was the first person that he laid eyes upon. And so now he has essentially become obsessively in love with Charlie. And unfortunately, it leads to this very disturbing scene, which would play a part in the story, where Angel Dust would actually harmfully rape Charlie. And obviously, thankfully, this was something that I didn't see, because I think that would have been a scar, definitely in my memory, if that was actually a part of my dream. But it was definitely implied that this is what happened, is that Angel Dust raped Charlie. And the reason why Valentino wanted this to happen is because it's a two-way spell. If Angel Dust fucked Charlie, then Charlie would also be obsessively in love with Angel Dust. And that would mean that Valentino had the Princess of Hell under his wing. And so obviously, he let it happen, and then it happens. So now he has them, and he calls them back. He calls both Angel Dust and Charlie back, and everyone is starting to get suspicious of what the hell is going on. Vaggy and Husker are kind of becoming this unlikely pairing, because they're realizing that this is far worse than they could have ever imagined. And so Charlie and Angel Dust, they go back to Valentino's, and they're trying to go after them, and they're trying to get the help of Alistair, and they're like, Alistair, we need help. This is bad. This is really bad. Charlie is under this hypnotic spell and is now going back to Valentino. Valentino's going to use Charlie for horrible sexual deviant acts. And so Alistair, being Alistair, obviously tries to play it off as something not too big. It's like, it's just Charlie, you know, and she's the Princess of Hell. She can do whatever she wants. She could run things how she wants. I have no part in this. This is not a part of my responsibility. I'm simply here for the entertainment. And obviously this pisses off both Husker and Vaggy, who are the two people who directly hate Alistair. And so they're like, listen, you piece of shit, you can go on your way and have all this fun and entertainment that you want with this situation, but when it comes to you, we don't give a flying fuck about what you think. We don't give a fuck about who you think you are, what kind of superiority you have over us. This is for Vaggy, it's her love, it's her girlfriend. And for Husker, it's like, this is a poor innocent girl who is suffering because of Alistair having this hold over him. And so now they're like, fuck you, Alistair, we're doing this. And they kind of like shut off Alistair. They stop playing into his little games. They stop feeding him his attention. And so now they go on their way and they go searching. They go searching for Charlie and Angel Dust, and they also go across the bums, who now, upon realizing that the same girl who had come to them and offered them the ability of rehabilitation, who had been sweet to them and had asked them to be better people, and hearing what is happening to her too, they now start to feel bad. And they are now starting to contemplate leaving these people for dead just because they didn't feel like it was their responsibility, which plays into kind of like Alistair, who he doesn't feel like it's his responsibility to go save Charlie. And the bums didn't feel like it was their responsibility to save Angel Dust because he was just another guy on the street. But now they feel like it's their responsibility because now they feel like they played a part in it. So they go and they team up with Husker and Vaggie, and they go to Valentina's studio. Now this is the part where things kind of went all over the place, so trying to remember it and piecing it together with the text messages that I have here is going to be a little bit tricky, but from what I can tell anyway, this is how it all went down. They would go to the studio, and the studio would be blocked off by like spider webs, like Angel Dust's webs, but they're really like cum shot webs, which is really disgusting, but it plays into the nature of the world. And these two, Charlie and Angel Dust, are actually now in their demon forms because they have been essentially going at it for so long that they have essentially changed shape and forms and become their most dangerous, violent, disgusting selves. And so now Vaggie, Husker, and the team of bumps, they have to take down the most powerful versions of both of these characters. Along the way, also having to deal with Valentino, who obviously is not going to let them just settle this. You know, he's obviously gonna be like, I have the entire ring of hell in my hands. Why would I ever let you get a step ahead and ruin that? And that wasn't the only demons that they came across. They also came across what I believe I describe as some kind of Mysterio demon. Not what you gonna do? No, not that one. The Spider-Man Mysterio. They came across a Mysterio-esque demon who was like playing illusions and hallucinations, and I think that this demon was Vox, because he's the only one that I think could fit the role of like hallucinations, but it's more digitally electronic hallucinations and stuff. And so I think that this character that I describe as Mysterio is Vox. And at some point, Vox actually tries to double cross Valentino because he wants to have control over Charlie and Angel Dust, and he wants to have them under his wing. And so it starts to become essentially a free-for-all with all the demons, because Charlie also, because she's the Princess of Hell and essentially the most powerful being in the entire universe, becomes too powerful to control. And so Valentina loses his control over her, and she starts going crazy, and nobody can essentially put her down, and it's complete mayhem. It's like a free-for-all brawl from every party. And unfortunately, I believe I had woken up from my dream at that point in time, but from all the context clues prior, and from the art of storytelling and what I have learned, and the kind of writer that I've become to try and piece together how this all unfolded and ended, what I think ended up happening was that Alistair came into the frame, would play a big role in helping out Vaggie, Husker, and the Mugs, and decide to actually, yes, he does help them, and he fends off Valentino and Vox long enough to then have to battle Charlie. Now, Charlie actually gives Alistair a hard time, and it's the first time that Alistair actually struggles in a fight because she is actually beating him. He's never been beat the way that Charlie is beating him. And so the only way for them to finally reach through to Charlie is for Vaggie. And while Alistair is essentially trying to detain her, Vaggie has to try and reach through to Charlie. And because Charlie is so powerful, she can actually override Valentino's spell. And thanks to the help of Vaggie, she does. And she reaches through to herself. She overcomes the spell, and using her own power, she breaks the spell for Angel Dust too. And they escape and get out of there and fend off Vox and Valentino long enough, which causes friction between them because they kind of try to betray each other for the power. And now there's like more complications going on. But what I loved the most about this dream, or at least what I've come to the conclusion of what this dream led to, was how it shaped and affected each and every single one of the characters in various different ways. So the aftermath and the conclusion of this whole arc storyline that I gathered from each of the characters would be each of the characters maturing and understanding and learning something in their own ways, except for Nifty, because Nifty was not a big part of the storyline. But if there was a way that I could have made Nifty a part of that story, storyline, I would. But I don't really know Nifty that well. I don't know what kind of character she really is supposed to be other than like crazy cleaning lady. That's all they portrayed her as. So if I knew, I would have added her a part of this as well to be more mature. But from what I gathered, for Husker, the thing that Husker learned the most was to be able to help out and actually be more a part of the hotel than originally he was. Because originally he didn't care about the hotel. He thought he was just there to be a bartender. He thought he was just there to kind of like be a slave to Alistair doing this shit, and he just did not give a shit about being there. But now he does. And the reason that he does is because he really sees the true potential of what this rehabilitation thing can be. And he really sees that if people can be rehabilitated and helped, then they should be. They should be helped whenever necessary. And that him helping in this situation is what saved, most likely, hell in its entirety as itself. Otherwise, it would have all been, passed on to an even worse slave owner, if you will. Because even though we haven't gotten to the Lucifer stuff, I think I would have portrayed Lucifer as someone a little differently than the show did. But, it would have happened as it happened. But in regards to like Husker, I think that's what he would have gathered. He would have became more invested and involved with the hotel and with the characters to try to maintain peace and help when necessary. For Vaggie, obviously, she learned that being overprotective was kind of, in some ways, holding Charlie back from allowing her to make her own decisions and be able to handle herself. Because clearly she learned firsthand, Charlie can handle herself. I mean, she pretty much whooped her. So Vaggie's kind of learns to be more standoffish from always holding Charlie back from doing things that she wants to pursue, but also is still more caring for Charlie because she realizes that at any given point in time, any one of these people in hell will try to take her away from her and will try to manipulate and use her for their own benefits. And so now she wants to be protective in a different way. Instead of being protective of preventing Charlie from being able to do stuff, she wants to be protective of Charlie by being able to let Charlie do the things that she does and then helping her if she falls and if she makes a mistake. As for Charlie herself, I mean, this is a horrible situation to happen to her. I mean, it's definitely the definition of maturing fast. A little too fast for comfort. But I mean, at this point, Charlie is already an adult, but mentally, she's always kind of been childish. She's always kind of had that hopeful dream that everyone can be just better if you just push them to it. But now she's kind of been extremely humbled. I mean, she got raped. At the end of the day, that's what happened to her. It's not exactly a celebratory thing to like gloat about that, oh man, she's more mature because this happened to her. She's more mature because she was forced into a scenario that she didn't have the control over. So now she kind of has a different view or understanding of truly how sinister and sadistic these people that are hers would be. And it kind of makes her understand that some people, if they genuinely don't want to change, are not going to. Because, as I say anyway, people don't change, they adapt. They will adapt to what you offer them. So if you offer them paradise, they'll use that to their advantage. But in the case of Charlie, she's now kind of gaining an understanding that when it comes to certain people, you can't force them. You can't force them to do something because instead they will force you to do something. And whatever it is that they force you to do, it's going to be far worse. And so Charlie is definitely probably, out of all the people here, the most humbled one because of the horrible situation that happened to her. And obviously, going forward from whatever episodes or seasons that this would have followed from, would have been much more mature as a person and kind of taken this dream of hers more seriously than rather as a childlike wonder. It's now kind of like, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to do this no matter what it takes. And I feel like this is far better than what the actual show does with her against Heaven. Far too rushed, far too quick. If we were ever going to have a Heaven plotline where Hell versus Heaven, it should have been much later. It should have definitely followed what happened here in my dream, because that would have showcased Charlie in a much better light as a much stronger character and a much stronger lead. Because at the end of the day, Charlie is the main character. She's the leading character. And so to have your lead be the one who is essentially the best character is very crucial and important for the overall story, because when your lead is not your strongest character, then your story is not going to be as strong. And that's just the fact of storytelling and an objective truth about storytelling. For Angel Dust, I mean, this is definitely also humbling for him as well, because this is the moment where he would realize that the way he's been behaving, the way he's been viewing things, the way he's been acting is all a reflection towards Valentina. And even though he was not the one in control of what happened here, he still was a part of it, and he still holds himself accountable and holds guilt about it, because he did this to someone who in actuality is a genuinely innocent person, which is Charlie. And seeing that he did this to someone innocent makes him realize the true nature of Valentina, and makes him realize that he is becoming like Valentina, and that in order to prevent himself from becoming a truly horrible person and to actually better himself for the hotel and also for himself and for other people and their safety, he has to be willing to mature, and he has to be willing to sacrifice these things, these temporary pleasures that he has in his life, in order to truly overcome his relationship with Valentina. To overcome Valentina, he has to be willing to sacrifice in order to truly become the best version of himself as well, and to prevent something like this from ever happening. And I think this is where a very strong friendship between him and Husker would happen. Now, I'm not personally one who would have had Husker and Angel Dust get together. I think they could have been really close friends though, and I think this would have been one of the starting points for that, because even though Husker is kind of like the recipient of all of Angel Dust's shit up to this point in time, now Husker is going to kind of be willing to help him prevent himself from doing this again, so that it never happens again, so it never gets to this point in time again. Because like I said, even though Angel Dust wasn't the one in control, he knows it was still him that did it. It was still his body that went and did it. He was still him who got himself into that situation with Valentina. And not just for this storyline, but also prior, when he signed that contract with his name. And so now it not only puts accountability on himself, but also makes him mature as a person as well. And to me, I always like when something horrific is something motivating for a character to become stronger rather than become weaker, because in a situation like this could easily destroy somebody. So it all plays in, you know, it all comes together. That's what I love about it. It all comes together because it could be a metaphor to his drug abuse too. And then of course you have the street mugs, and I think this is great for the street mugs because what it does is it makes them some of the first few people to actually want to be rehabilitated and want to stay at the hotel and provide for Charlie and want to try it and see if this can work so that other people can become better people too. So they learn their lesson too, and they kind of go up to Angel Dust and realize the fact that he is a human being at the end of the day, that even though that he betrayed himself in a light of vanity, that they don't have to sink down to the level where they have to treat him like he is just a vessel for sexual pleasures, where they can be better than what he portrays himself as, so that they can see him as equal. And I like that, because not only are they like some of the first people to be in Charlie's Hotel, which kind of showcases that Charlie's Hotel can work if people are willing to work for it, but it also showcases a level of accountability that is necessary and required to becoming a better person to begin with, which accountability is a big thing that I think in general in life a lot of people lose over time. A lot of people lose that because most times accountability feels forced. It feels like it's something that is forced upon you, that you have to do, that you have to be sorry, you have to be sincere. But in reality, accountability should always be something that you feel whenever you make a decision, that you know and understand the consequences of your actions, and the consequences of your actions lead to you taking accountability for them and being straightforward about it and being sincere when you make a mistake and mess up, to be able to fess up about it. And then of course, last but not least, we have Alistair. And depending on which direction Alistair's character would go, whether he becomes the true big bad of the series or he actually is the very last person that Charlie redeems as a finale, as the final step into redemption, whichever direction you take Alistair, this works. Because in one direction, he now knows two things. He now knows that Charlie is more powerful than him, and that if he had that power, he could easily rule hell once again, because he has her as his lapdog. And that if he has Vaggie, then he could essentially have Charlie. If he has Vaggie, because Vaggie is the one who reached through to Charlie, then he has hell. So if he's going to be a villain, that's a good thing for him to learn. But if he's going to be a hero, or if he's going to be a better person and redeem himself, then this is a humbling experience, because this is something that he genuinely did not give a shit about. And because he got humbled by Charlie, it makes him him realize in that moment that he is not much of a tough shot as he thinks he is. That even though he can get through all these low lives with the level and amount of power that he has, when it comes to someone like Charlie, he cannot match on that level. And the ironic thing in that regards is because Charlie is the most innocent. She is the most innocent person, and yet she is far more powerful than him. And in a way, that's metaphorical for him as a person to learn and understand that her innocence is far greater than his lack of care. And I think that's a good path of his redemption for later in the story. So whichever way you want to take it for Alistair's character, it works. And this is why I love this dream so much. Even though it is a very dark, disturbing, gritty dream, it goes up my alley of storytelling because of how mature it is. I still can't get over it. The fact that a lot of this was subconscious overnight and I wasn't even awake for it and it just happened and it came to me like that speaks volumes. Not to like gloat and boost myself up being like, oh yeah, I'm such a great storyteller, guys. No, I mean it like it speaks volumes to the levels of what Hazbin Hotel truly could have been if there were people competent enough to want to make it something truly special. Because I know in the hands of a million different other people, Hazbin Hotel could have been one of, if not, maybe even the greatest show ever told. I mean, it's a hypothetical, obviously, but when you have a concept like that in the palm of your hands and you just let it go to waste, a lot of people will see that and be like, should have been me. If I had that concept, I would have made this something, you know? A lot of people will think that way. And I'm grateful for the fact that thankfully, I have a concept that people can use called the Randomness Act, where if you truly want to make a show like your own interpretation of Hazbin Hotel, well, you can make it under the Randomness Act label, and I'll be completely for it. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm gonna fund you because I don't have funds. Listen, I'm Peter Parker broke right now, okay? I don't got the funds, all right? But I'll definitely support it if you go under the Randomness Act label. If you notify me, you let me know, and I see it's a Randomness Act, I'll have your back. I'll have your back for sure. But you know, it's damning. It's damning to see an idea with potential in the wrong hands, because I feel like I see that all the time nowadays. Maybe that's just the direction of the film industry and where it's going, but like, it's too many damn times, man. Too many damn times I see something amazing in the wrong hands, and that amazing thing is just squandered and squashed to be completely nothing. And I hope that if anybody somehow manages to get the rights from Vivian, I'm not sure how you would manage to do that. You'd probably have to pay a lot of money. If you somehow get the rights from Vivian, you should retell this story in a very beautiful, amazing way. And hey, if this dream is of mine, if this video of mine is one of those inspirations for how you retell it, then by all means, I'll have your back for it. I hope that you like this dream. I hope that it was interesting, and if you thought that this dream was better than the actual show, you know what to do in the comment section. You let me know. You give me your own takes and ideas that you would have potentially pursued, and I think from that point we could end the discussion of this series altogether after that point, because for right now, I think I've said far enough, and I believe I've given Vivian enough fame and shine that she would want, even though she's going to negatively react to it anyway, because that's just the kind of person she is anyway. I'm grateful that I made this video. I am glad. I know it comes across as me trying to boost myself with my storytelling. It's really not why I wanted to do it. It's more so me trying to persuade others into making beautiful stories, or if not, making a better Hazbin Hotel. Because if you can make a better Hazbin Hotel than this and somehow not get Vivian on the lawsuit side of things, let me know, because I want to see it. I would love to see it, because I already know it's going to be far better than whatever the fuck Vivian created. And I believe that's going to be a wrap on this video. So, as I always do, I send you off by saying, as a matter of fact, let's face the facts. I'm here to give you a reality check, and if you can't handle that, I'll beat you with a baseball bat. Best believe. Arrivederci, you bitch ass motherfuckers. Play the music.